Hey everybody, welcome back. We're in a unconventional place. We're actually in the convention center here in Charlotte, North Carolina, getting ready for the regional tournament. We checked in early. Today is Friday, so we're just trying to get our early check-in. Got our wristband here, and we'll end up getting the swag in just a little while. But in the meantime, I wanted to drop in the next video on the investment series because we have some of the tools and information ready for you that we've been talking about over the past 3 episodes. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, what we have in the first one is basically a high-level view of all the sets and all the series over their ROI and trying to just understand what does that look like over time, and of course on some of the sets in which are the best or the worst. In the second episode, we talk about how to start approaching this and getting started. What should you consider? We cover things like your budget, your diversification, and then starting to assess which sets you should start investing in. And then in the third episode, we dive into how do you analyze those sets. We put some metrics together. We started to look at some of the parameters of which you might understand which sets are the most important to buy at that moment, as well as which ones are going to be really good in your portfolio that will grow over time that maybe you have already purchased and are in your inventory. So with that in mind, now we want to give you the tools that you can use to track your investments and of course try to help you give that visibility and transparency to what you've already purchased in and how those things are tracking over time. Let's take a quick look at our screen. And this is a file that I will now drop a link in the description of the video, and you'll be able to download this and keep your own copy. So you're going to replace some of the data, and of course you can update this as you see fit. This is something you can have. It's a free tool. There's no memberships, there's no cost. I give this completely away for free to all of you so that you can help better manage your Pokemon investments. So let's take a look here. What we have in the top section are just a couple of key figures. So we have our total investment, we have profit, we have total value, and total profit. And in the middle, we try to give you some quick visualizations and summaries, as well as below, we have a graph that shows you a comparison of total investment versus total value. I'll explain all of those here in just a second, but let's go ahead and jump first into the actual data. So this is all on your Pokemon investment tab here. And what you're going to be looking at is the first one talks about the series. Then we go into the set. We pick the product type. We can add a description if you would like to. The quantity of which you bought. The number of booster boxes which are in that quantity. And as I said before in previous videos, right now we're talking only in the context of a booster box or a case of booster boxes. So in that perspective, there's not ETBs here, there's not tins, but obviously feel free to adjust this to meet your needs. And then from here, we look at the total paid. We break that down in the event that you were buying a booster case. We break that down into a per unit cost so we can understand what's happening at a per booster box unit. And then we look down at the current market prices, your percent in gain, your gain in dollars, your gain in percent, and then total value based on the actual market price. So let's dive into this quickly so that you can get a good idea of how this works. And again, you're going to want to replace all of this data here. This is just sample data. This is what I'm giving you so that you can see how this tool will work for you. And of course, you just fill it in with the items that you either have or are planning to have in your investment portfolio. So each one of the first 3 is a drop-down. We drive these drop-downs based on some drop-down data. So we have a separate tab here that has just a list of all of the series, all of the sets, and then of course the 2 product types. Feel free to adjust this as you see fit, but there is some implications to you making adjustments because it might break the way some of the lookups are working in terms of the market price. I'll show that to you in just a few minutes. But the good news is if you're using it as it's currently designed, you don't need to type anything in. All you have to do is just pick this drop down, pick your Sword and Shield sets, pick your Scarlet and Violet sets, and of course, a series. And then of course, then you can move into which set you are actually purchasing from that series. That's more just for yourself, and also it speaks a little bit to diversification over the different series. Then you can pick your booster box type. So it's a case or it's an individual booster box. If you wanted to add a description, feel free to do so. And then the quantity of that product type. So did you buy 1 booster case, or did you buy, in this example here, maybe 2 booster boxes, right? And then as we move across, what we do is automatically a calculation for you based on which type you've selected for the product. We'll then extract out how many booster boxes that will be for you. And then of course we then break down the total price. Now this is what you paid for this quantity. And then of course the booster box price is then extracted out from the actual per booster box and of course what you paid. So we just do a little bit of a division here and give you your per booster box price. And then this is where the fun part starts. We start to give you the market price. Now I have included in this tool for you a starting point of all of these sets and the last sold price that I found either on eBay or TCG Player, or in the cases where I did not find a sold listing in the past 3 months, I just included one of the current sell prices with the buy now cost. So definitely keep an eye on this as time goes by, and you can update these prices to whatever you see as the most recent price. So I basically give you each of the series in the set, then show you what the last sold was, which system it was on, or which place it sold on, and then what date it sold. And then you can maintain this and update it as you see fit. In addition to that, I will probably be putting out updates myself, so if you want to stay tuned to the channel, make sure that you hit subscribe, hit that notifications bell, and probably once a month or every couple of months, I'm going to go through this and update it myself anyways. So if you want to stay tuned and get these updates without you having to do all the manual work, just stay tuned to the channel and I'll send out an update of this market price guide about every 2 or 3 months. And that way you can just paste that in here and then you get some updated pricing and then of course adjust your calculations accordingly. And then once we have that market price, we can then see what you paid versus what the market price is. We can calculate how much money have you gained, what that percentage would be, and then if you were to sell it at that price of the current market price, what is your total current value at that market price? So let's take one example. Here we bought a Silver Tempest booster box case. This is 6 booster boxes in a case. So 1 case, 6 boxes. We paid $7.15. These are just examples. You can of course fill this in. If you break that down, so divided by 6, you can then get that at $119.17. And then if you look over at the current market price, that was selling for $131.21, which again comes from this market price tracker. And then of course that's a difference of $72.26, 61%. And if you were to sell all 6 of those at that price, you would then get a total value back of $787.26. So basically we do this for every one of these examples. We'll do one quick review of just a booster box so you can see how that works. So let's take a look then maybe at this one. Here we have again Sword and Shield. We're looking at Astral Radiance at a booster box instead of a case this time. We only bought 2 of those. So obviously those are just booster boxes individually, so it still equals 2. And of course those were done at $123. And then of course the per price there was going to be $61.50. Again, a little bit low in reality, but just an example so you can kind of see how that works. The current price is $127.15. And profit gained was $131.30, or 213%. And you could sell them and make $254 total value back for your investment. All right, so then this is how this entire data grid works. And if you wanted to add the next row, you can simply either just drag this down, or you can just hit tab, and then of course fill in the next row and keep adding to this as you buy more product or remove them as you sell product. And then from there, all of these numbers are going to update automatically for you. So then you'll see what you totally invested. So in this case, we put in $33,000 in our investment. We've made a profit of about $30,000. And then that gives us a total value of about $63,000. And that is a total of 190% profit. We do get a quick summary here as well by set. So let me correct that, especially by set. Series, excuse me. We get a breakdown by series here, and then from that series you can see the sum that you've spent within that series, which gives you a little bit of a distribution and the diversification across series for what you've actually spent, as well as what the total value is. So in this example, we've only spent $5,000 in the original base sets, and then we have earned a total market value of about $23,000. Here's another example of Sword and Shield. We've spent $4,000, and if we sold it all today, we can make $5,582. And if you look at that in terms of percentages, you can see that we have a distribution of about 36% in the Sun and Moon. So that gives us a larger percentage in that era. And then, of course, we've now bought some here in the Scarlet and Violet as well. That's because of this last record that we have where we bought 10 booster cases and we spent $7,000. That's what gives this one quite a higher number. And then, of course, we have a few that are distributed here across other series. And last but not least, you then have a chart that gives you just a visualization of what you've already seen in data, but it's always nice to see that. So here you can see what you've spent, so how much you've spent, which is the blue, it's the total paid, right? And then, of course, the orange is now the actual market value. So the bigger the distance the orange is away from the blue, the more money you've made within that series. So here, again, we're grouping this by series, so you can see the breakdown per series, and you might have less on the newer ones, so you can see that here. So Scarlet and Violet, you have a less of a return because it's still brand new. It hasn't actually gained that much in value yet. But then if you look at Sun and Moon, you still see a pretty good gain. Sword and Shield, less, because it's still somewhat newer. X and Y is more, as you would expect, and of course the original series is the most because it is the oldest and the most scarce. So this is a tool that I hope that you find valuable. It can help you track your investments if you're not already doing so, and feel free to reach out, ask any questions, any concerns, any improvements. I did want to keep it simple. There's obviously a lot more complex financial figures we can put into this, but I wanted to make it simple to start with, and maybe we can build on this over time with some community feedback, and we hope that this is something that adds value to your day and to your investment journey. Thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.